Hello, this is Optimum Health Solutions. I'm your host, OJ Odia. Today we are going to talk about infertility, and we have a special guest with us, Professor John Ikimalo. He's a specialist in disease of women, childbearing, and such things. And and we are going to look at the problem of infertility. Why is it that some women are not able to have children, or that a couple is not able to produce children as they would wish? How common, Professor Kimalo, you are welcome.
Thank you
How
very much for
common
having
is this
me.
problem?
Infertility is quite common in the sense that, generally all over the world, 17.5% of people have infertility, which means inability to get pregnant. And maybe we should define infertility first. It is the inability to get pregnant within 1 year of regular sexual intercourse. Regular means at least 3 times a week, So if a couple is married or they are living together, having intercourse, we expect that within 3 months, 50% of them would have gotten pregnant. Within 1 year, 85% of them would have gotten pregnant. So if they don't get pregnant, then the remaining 15%, we can then label them as having infertility.
Okay, which means that it should be unprotected sex.
Oh, it has to be unprotected sex.
Okay.
Regular unprotected sex.
Regular unprotected sex. Okay. Now, we know
when we
that
say unprotected sex, that means there's no condom, nothing, no family planning.
No, nothing.
Yes, and there is the desire to have pregnancy.
To have children. Yes. Now, we know that in our environment, the woman is usually in the forefront. Is the woman that is blamed for infertility. Is it only the woman that bears the brunt of infertility?
Unfortunately, no, not at all. In fact, most times in African setting, and particularly also in Nigeria, the in-laws look at you as if, oh, it is the woman that has a problem. In fact, sometimes the men brag about it that they don't have a problem. You are the one that has a problem. But I want to say that half of the time, the men have the problem. In fact, the world trend is now showing that the cause of infertility is getting more in men than in women. 50% of the time is in men. The cause is in men. We used to think 30% of the time men, 30% women, and then 30% both of them, and then 10% we don't know. But recent trend now is showing that the men are taking up to 50%, and the women 30% or 35%, and then the rest is 15%.
So
yes,
what will you advise?
So that notion that it is a woman's problem is very wrong. Yes.
What will you advise a young couple having waited, say, for 1 year, and they have not been able to have a pregnancy, even after regular unprotected sex? What will I advise them to do?
Thank you very much. I'm happy you said young couple. Young couple after 1 year. But in the definition I gave you, older couple, that is if a woman is above 35, we tend to advise that we cannot wait for 1 year, 6 months, because ability to get pregnant decreases with age. After 35 it decreases, and after 40 it decreases very rapidly. So our advice normally, if a couple cannot get pregnant, is that they should visit a doctor, preferably a gynecologist, because we have many gynecologists now. So they should visit a gynecologist. But what the doctor should do for them is to take a history from them. Because if you take a history from them, you find out if they are even having regular intercourse. Some, if they know about how a pregnancy is formed, and then also want to find out from them if they've had any problems in the past that will make them not to get pregnant. For example, if the woman has had previous deliveries, or if she's had previous pregnancies for which sometimes if they didn't want the pregnancy, they would have done a termination of pregnancy. And if they had complications from that termination, then also we want to find out from them, the number of sexual partners. There's quite a lot to ask them, and their own medical history. The man too will do the same, exactly the same thing. Because some men too would have had sexually transmitted infection, or they would have had some infection even in childhood, or they would have had problems with their genitals. Then we go on to examine them, and then physical examination. If we don't, most times we may not find anything, but um, after that we do some investigation, specialized investigations, and these investigations include: one, we want to find out if the woman is producing eggs. We want to find out if the man is having adequate sperm. Then we want to find out if the woman's genital tract is patent for the egg and the sperm to meet, which is the basic thing to achieve a pregnancy. So those are the investigations we do.
Okay, having done these investigations, you will now be able to find out where
Ye-
the fault is likely to be.
yes, most times when we do these investigations, most times in 90% of cases, we will find the cause or many causes for this infertility.
Okay, so having found the cause, what do you do? First, what are the possible causes?
The causes of infertility can be from the man, it can be from the woman, and it can be from both of them. So after that evaluation, you will find that in the man, for example, sometimes the causes of the infertility can be that the man's sperm count is low, and the sperm count can be low because of previous infection. It can be low because the body is not producing sperm at all, or it can be low because the tract for the man itself, either the mouth of the penis is facing up or facing down, or it can be normal, but with or there are many abnormalities of the sperm. Some sperm may not have tail, some don't have head, or they have two heads. So there might be so many abnormalities. So these are the causes, most common causes in the men. So that will lead to either no sperm or low sperm count. You know, and then apart from the fact that some men might not even have erection, that is
So they
sexuality
will not be able
problems.
to
Yeah,
have
they will not be
regular
able to
sexual
have regular
intercourse.
sexual intercourse. Then for the woman, we look at the genital tract of the woman. So the causes, we can follow the genital tract of the woman, starting from the ovary, where the eggs are coming from. So if the ovary has any problem, in the sense that the hormones that make the ovary to bring to form eggs, if there are problems with those hormones, you will find that the woman will not be able to produce eggs. Then if the hormones are even weak or they are inappropriate, they might produce eggs that are not matured, or they are not good enough. And that is affected usually by age. And that's why we say once you are above 35, your fecundity, or your ability to get pregnant,
Yeah,
decreases
decreases.
gradually. And when you get to 40, of course, it decreases very rapidly. So other diseases that may affect the ovary, where eggs are formed or stored, is the fact that you can have polycystic ovary. It's a common disease where the eggs are supposed to be shed from a follicle, or from a small fluid containing part of it. There are many, and then they are shed. They are not shed, and then you might find situation where the hormones that are supposed to affect the ovary is not responding to those hormones. So those are the causes. Then we'll come to the fallopian tube. It is in the fallopian tube that pregnancy actually takes place. That is where the sperm meets the
Oh, in
egg.
the fallopian tube,
Yes, it's the
not the
fallopian tube.
uterus.
No, not the uterus. The uterus is just a place to store the pregnancy for 9 months. So, in the fallopian tube, where this pregnancy takes place, that is where we have most of the problems. Blockage or damage to the fallopian tube will make the woman not to get pregnant. And these blockages and damages are due to, most commonly, infections. Infections that women carry either from previous childbirth, you know, or infection from previous termination of pregnancies, or infections from sexually transmitted infection from partners. That's the commonest cause. Tuber damage is the commonest cause we have, particularly in the third world country. Then you can also have causes from the uterus, the uterus itself. Again, if there is abnormality of the uterus or abnormality of the fallopian tube and even the ovaries, you would have causes of infertility. Then in the uterus specifically, um, abnormalities of the uterus, like I said, but then injury to the uterus, like when women have done many D&Cs or even one D&Cs, and then the surfaces of the uterus will now gum together, and then it does not give space. So you find that their menstruation might be reduced, and then pregnancy cannot stay in such a space. Then also, if there are fibroids, but not all fibroids, fibroids that are jutting out into the uterus, that are occupying the space in the uterus, then they can cause infertility. Then the what we call the neck of the womb, the cervix. That is the neck of the womb. Sometimes if you have problems there as well, and some of those problems might be congenital, if there is abnormality there, or they can be immunological, just situations in which you are producing things that will affect the semen. Once they come in there, some um, things from your body will destroy them.
Okay,
they call them immunological.
From the woman,
yes,
will destroy the sperm.
The sperm, yes.
So it's then fighting the sperm.
It's fighting the sperm, so to say, if you want to, killing the sperm. Yes, killing the sperm. And then also, if you have surgery on the cervix, like there are some surgeries sometimes we do on the surgical to remove, part of the cervix, or these are some of the things on this from the cervical part. Then also from the vaginal side, very uncommon, though, if you have, congenital abnormalities of the vagina, that is, the vagina is not open for even semen to pass through to go to the cervical canal. So these are all common causes of infertility. Then above all, another common cause is usually other things, like if you have other diseases of the thyroid, or you have serious disease of the kidneys and all that. All of them tend to affect your inability to produce eggs or good eggs. Then again too, if you are taking drugs, smoking, those lifestyle vices that are not good with health generally, they also affect both your semen for the men and also the eggs for the eggs, and then for the women. And then again, I've just talked about age. Age is very important for us on the side of the women. Sometimes too, they think age is not there for the men, but that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore, because when a man gets older too, the older you get, the more likely that, yes, your sperm count might be all right, but the sperm may not be having that agility to move very well. And also the percentage of abnormalities of the sperm is also higher. So you are also likely to have abnormal babies.
Let's say in 50s?
Yeah, anything from above 50. 50, yes. Okay. Yes. For the women, usually above 40. So
the difference is not much.
Yeah, well, it's still significant, years. Because when the men think that when they are 60, then they can need to go and marry 16-year-old girls, and there will be no problem. There are problems.
Well, thank you very much. And the other things that we want to talk about, now that we have a fairly good idea of what infertility is, what things that cause infertility, and so on. What do we do? What advice do you give to couples that will present with these features?
Yeah, when they have problems with getting pregnant after 1 year of marriage, like I said, they should consult a doctor, and preferably a gynecologist, so that they will take a history, examine them, do these investigations. After then, they will be able to find out the cause or the causes, because like I said, the cause can be in the woman or it can be in the man, and then or it can be in both of them. And from what I said now, we find causes in the men more often now, so the men should not think that it is a woman's problem. It is not. And both of them should actually consult the doctor. And if the cause is found, then the advice for the treatment specific to the cause can be given. All right. So for instance, if a woman has blocked tubes, in those days we used to operate on them to go and join the tube again. As a matter of fact, some people went on to use microscope to join the tube, so that you can see fiber per fiber, little things like that. But successfully in that, during
Even poor.
really, yes, and that was the best that could have been done for tubal damage, which is one of the commonest causes of infertility in our environment. And it is so, it is because of that the idea of IVF, or assisted reproductive technology, came about. Because then the fact that the pregnancy takes place in the fallopian tube, and then the tube is damaged,
Block.
then you want to now bypass the tube
Completely.
to achieve a pregnancy.
Okay. So in that case, the egg and the sperm are put together in a test tube.
Beautiful. So the egg is taken from the woman, the sperm is taken from the man, and then they are put together in a, well, they call it test tube, baby. But even though we use a petri dish, yes, you put it, and then the petri dish contains the nutrients that you will normally find in the fallopian tube.
Okay.
And in that environment, the sperm and the egg, they don't know whether they are in the tube or nowhere.
Elsewhere. So long
Of course,
as
then they meet themselves, and then the zygote is formed. And when it is formed, we now incubate it in body temperature, for within 2 to 5 days, and we take it, instead of passing through the fallopian tube into the uterine cavity, we put it through the neck of the womb into the uterine cavity.
So just bypass the fallopian tube.
Just bypass the fallopian tube. Yes.
Okay, so it settles there, and
you can stay for 9 months. Okay. The womb is just there to harbor a pregnancy for 9 months.
What is the success rate?
The success rate is the success rate, I would say, is like the success rate of a natural pregnancy, because it's not every time a man meets a woman that she gets pregnant.
No.
So, and the same thing, even when they are pregnancies, natural pregnancies, and they get into the uterine cavity, it is not all of them that must stay, because to get attached to the uterine cavity is a different ballgame. So it's the same thing. So, but generally, to answer your question, success rate with IVF is usually between 20 and 40%.
Okay. Yes. That's not low.
Well, it's not. The natural one is usually about 20 to 25%. So it's not low. It's not low. Okay. But it's improving with time. And then as more knowledge is being gained. IVF started about roughly about 45, 50 years ago. And quite a lot of progress has been made. A lot of progress has been made.
So this IVF can do that, put it in the womb of the woman.
Yes.
And the woman is able to carry the pregnancy to term
for 9 months.
For 9 months, and that's the baby.
Yes.
Okay. So the womb is also defective. Say, for example, you say we have some abnormalities of the womb. If that is the problem, what do we do?
Yes, there are some abnormalities of the womb. Like I said, there are some wombs that have damages, injuries. If they can be repaired, for instance, if you have the womb coming together, you can open it, and then you can get pregnant thereafter. And there are modern ways of opening it, without having to do too much. You look at it, what we call hysteroscopy, to break those damages. If there are things in it like what we call polyps, some fibroids that we know can affect, we can remove them. And then, but then if the womb is so badly damaged that you've made so many attempts, and then the woman is also advanced in age, or the womb has been removed. Sometimes wombs have cause to remove a woman's womb because she's either had a pregnancy, and then the womb is torn, and then to save her life, we needed to remove the womb. And if that has been done, the woman can still have a baby. She can still have a baby
without a
through what we call surrogacy.
Okay, so it's another woman's womb.
Yes, you can. Sometimes they call it renting a womb.
Rent.
So, so your womb is damaged. Once we know that it is damaged, it cannot carry a pregnancy. Or even if a woman, take a situation when a woman is very ill, very ill. For instance, she has renal failure, she's unfit to carry a pregnancy. But when her ovaries are okay, she's young, we can collect her egg and then use somebody else's womb, all right? Or, situations where I've talked about removal of womb, but there are other situations where you can need a surrogate, to carry your womb, to carry your baby.
The baby.
Yes.
So that's another problem of its own.
It's not a problem. It's a solution.
It's a
It's a
solution to the
solution.
problem,
It's a
but
solution to the
it
problem.
was not an easy solution.
Well, it is
How,
not.
how, how easy is it to convince another woman to carry pregnancy for a couple for 9 months and then hand over the baby at the end?
You know, the woman who is a surrogate who wants to carry the baby for a couple has a purpose. One purpose is what we call altruism, and it is because she just wants to help humanity.
Yes.
You know, what we find here is that sometimes sisters may want to help their elder sister or younger sister who has a problem with her womb. You know, so that money is not paid
It's
for
not a
that.
problem.
But there are some women who would say that, oh, well, they want to help somebody, but they also need the money.
Of course.
And then, you know, so they go for it, and then they donate their womb, so to say, to carry another person's, and then they are paid for it. Okay, that is commercial surrogacy.
Surrogacy.
And then, you know, if it's commercial surrogacy, then agreements are made, preferably with the lawyers. The doctors shouldn't get involved in that. Then the issue of now handing over the baby, all that arrangement is made. It's a bit complex, but at the end of the day, sometimes, in fact, studies that I've done to find out those women who use their womb for commercial purposes, and then studies have been done to find out whether they have psychological
Problem or emotional
serious. There will be some, but very serious psychological overlay. But surprisingly, most of them didn't. They just say that, well, I did it for a business and I used the money to establish myself, or I used the money to pay for my children's school fees, or I used the money to build a house, or I used the money to, you know, so when they look at what they did with the money, they feel satisfied. And particularly if they didn't have any complication with the pregnancy. And in addition to feeling the fact that they have helped somebody.
Somebody else have a child.
Yes.
Okay. I think we will leave it at that for today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Prof. Yes.
Professor
Thank you.
John Ikimalo. And viewers, we've been talking to Professor John Ikimalo, a consultant, gynecologist, and obstetrician.
Yes.
And we have talked about infertility and what ways, the other ways that are available to have pregnancy couples who may be unable to achieve pregnancy. So thank you very much for coming. Viewers, thank you for listening to us today. Please remember to subscribe, share, like. Thank you.
Thank you very much.